The look I'm going to be teaching you today is a super versatile look that you can use for a more editorial shoot or maybe e-commerce or something more street style, and this can easily be adapted to work for bridal and events as well. This is a simple smoky eye that only requires a few products, and it's a great look to have in your repertoire because it can be adapted to a number of different skin tones from super fair to deep skin. The model in this video is actually not from Toronto. She was in town from Montreal. She told me she was heading to a creative shoot for her modeling agency in Toronto right after, and that shoot was going to be outside and it was going to be more street style. So I figured this would be a great opportunity to show you a look that is quick, easy, versatile, and doesn't need to be highly detailed. This model has combination skin and is a warmer olive undertone. You won't see this on camera, but she is quite tan on the rest of her body, and her tan has a red, almost orange undertone. So for this application, I assume she may be wearing clothes for summer, so it'll be important for me to carry that tan onto her face so her face matches her body in the photos. Her eye shape is a great canvas for a smoky eye because she has good lid space and some nice space between her lid and her brow. And because there's a good amount of real estate there, I can really blend out the smoky eye without worrying about her eyes looking smaller. So I want you to think about the smoky eye as a gradient going from lash line to brow, with the deepest shade at the lash line to the middle of the lid, then a mid-tone shade from the middle of the lid to just above the crease, and the lightest shade from just above the crease to the underside of the brow. She has a combination skin type and showed up with her skin well prepped, so I skipped over any moisturizer and prepped the skin with 2 primers from SMASHBOX, a mattifying one down the center of the face and a hydrating one across her forehead and cheeks. This model is from out of town, as I mentioned, and she didn't have a lot of makeup with her. She's also heading to an outdoor shoot, and it was very warm, so it wouldn't make sense for me to give her a really matte look because that would require too much maintenance. So we're going for a really glowy, dewy skin today. One other key element to this look is that there's going to be no hard lines. So no eyeliner, no hard contour, no lip liner. By the time she gets to her shoot, it should look kind of lived in and effortless, which I think would work well for this. Of course, I'm going to start with the eyes to save time. I'm not going to use an eyelid primer for this look because I don't want the eyes to look too done. So I'm going to even out the lids using just a tiny bit of Face Atelier foundation. Next, I'm going into the waterline with a dark brown gel liner. I'm doing this first for 2 reasons. 1, if her eyes get watery, it won't matter because the rest of the makeup isn't done. And 2, giving that liner some time to settle in and move around will make it look nice and lived in and more effortless. There's been a little movement with the foundation on the eyes, which is normal, so I'm just working that in before I start. I'm using a NARS cream bronzer in Laguna, which is a mid-tone bronzer as a base. This is almost the same value as her skin tone, so this will help me quickly define the shape of the smoky eye while getting some good product deposit across the lid, which helps to quickly build intensity when you're doing a smoky eye look. Now I'm using a cream bronzer in a deeper shade to build up the intensity. This is the same cream bronzer I'm going to be using on her skin, so the look is going to be really cohesive. I love NARS bronzers for more olive undertone skin. They work really well. This bronzer will be blended to just above her natural crease. Because I'm working with creams, I'm going to make sure nothing has migrated and blend them really well before I set them with powder. What will be nice for this look is that the cream bronzer will start to absorb some of the powder over time, so the finish of the eye in a few hours is not going to be completely matte, which I think kind of makes sense for this look. I'm setting the cream bronzer with a mid-tone powder bronzer, and you can see I'm using shades of bronzer that are the same as the undertone of her tan. I'm building up the intensity of the smoky eye closer to the lash line by adding a deeper bronzer than the one I just used, and this will go right onto her lash line up to the middle of her eyelid, so think of this as a gradient. I'm just making sure the bronzer is blended across the entire lid and the application is both balanced and symmetrical. I'm using a black shadow right at the lash line for a little more intensity. I'm using a brush with no product on it to make sure that gradient I just created is well blended. Cleaning up the underside of the eye, but not too much because the product that has migrated there works for the smoky look. And I don't want the outer corner too sharp, so I'll keep an eye on that. It was a warm day in Toronto when we filmed this, and I'm not going to fight the glow, so I'm using Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter as a base. I'm using Face Atelier foundation. This will photograph beautifully in the natural sunlight, and if I don't use a lot of powder, her skin will be glowing. I'm doing a light application of foundation and using an olive undertone shade that is similar in value to the center of her neck. I love applying this foundation with a brush and then pressing it in with a sponge for a more natural look. Using the tiniest bit of NARS Soft Matte Concealer just on the inner corner. I don't want tons of coverage and she doesn't need it. I'm setting with RCMA No Color Powder. I don't want the under eye area looking too dry, but I do want that concealer set. I'm applying a mid-tone bronzer under the lash line. This will also help set the concealer. Now it's time to bronze the skin and create some dimension. I'm using the same deeper NARS cream bronzer that I did on her eyes, applying with a brush and then really buffing it in, and I'll be applying this across the bridge of the nose as well and carrying it onto the cheeks. I don't like using a lot of blush for this kind of look, so I'm going in with an Ambient powder from Hourglass to bump up the glow and set some of the foundation in that area. Soap brows to shape the brows, and then I'll go in with an Anastasia Brow Powder Duo in a warmer shade to fill in the areas of the brow where I need to. I forgot to hit record, but I did mascara on her top and bottom lashes and then set with a setting spray. She has a really nice natural lip pigment, so I did a sheer wash of nude lipstick over the Laneige lip mask I put on before we started. And here's the final look.